Hey guys, people say a lot of things about Airsoft, or within the realm of Airsoft, that just aren't true. Plain and simple. I'm going to share with you 10 myths, or just flat out lies you hear about Airsoft pretty much all the friggin' time. This should be a fun one, and please add to the conversation down in the comments if you feel like putting in your 2 cents. Let's jump right into number 1. Airsoft is dangerous. That's just false. Completely untrue.
Not a chance.
Airsoft fields hold to a standard of safety and enforce said standards through procedural routines, safety reminders before and after play, and of course, punishment for those who disobey said rules. For the sake of not repeating myself, I actually devoted an entire video on Airsoft safety. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link to it in the video description. Airsoft is safe, and I highly encourage newcomers to Airsoft as a great team activity, source of exercise, and stress relief. Alright, myth number 2. Everybody cheats. Let's get this one out of the way early, shall we? People cheat in everything, and you know what? Yeah, some individuals at Airsoft maybe choose not to feel that stray BB that definitely hit them. Other times, it hits soft padding, a backpack, or just something that a player genuinely couldn't feel. Sometimes the adrenaline is pumping and they just don't feel a BB. It happens. Also, let's not forget a lot of players out there are constantly calling hits on other players' behalf. Oh, you shot that guy 150 feet away with iron sights and you're 100% confident they're hit? What, do you eat like 100 carrots a day or something? Coincidentally, I've also made a dedicated video talking about quote-unquote cheater videos and just how stupid and honestly cringe it is. Some people unironically believe Airsoft is infested with cheaters. Cheaters get the attention and the clicks. It doesn't mean everyone is doing it. Also, maybe let this be a lesson for some of you struggling with potential cheaters. Take another shot if they're not going to raise their hand. Myth number 3. Airsoft is just for kids. Little kids. Children. That's just so not true. I will concede that many of the adults I play Airsoft with behave like children, but that's the extent I'm willing to give. The world of Airsoft is just so vast and ripe for personalization of gear and equipment. If you grew up playing Call of Duty before, well, it became an annual money grab for the same polished turd every year, you probably love guns and gun action in general. I play Call of Duty in real life, and nobody gets hurt. I love my fake guns, and millions of adults do too. Oh, and did I mention Airsoft can get really expensive if you aren't careful? Unless you have mommy's credit card, I don't think you can tell me Airsoft is for kids. Just for kids. And on the same topic of it being a money issue, it's an activity for adults for almost that reason alone. Myth number 4. Airsoft is just for adults. On the flip side, people who believe kids can't play Airsoft, or worse, gatekeep kids away from their precious Airsoft, fail to understand one important thing. It's the kids that keep this thing alive in the long run. I've met a lot of 13 or 14-year-old first-time Airsofters at my field who are now like 16 or 18, basically adults, almost 20 for crying out loud. They started young, really enjoyed Airsoft, and are now the ones soon to be leading the charge for a new generation of Airsofters. Adult life can be very spontaneous or ever-changing. Some adults get jobs that conflict with their Airsoft schedule, while some adults have kids and just can't make Airsoft work like it used to be. Kids are always welcome to Airsoft because if it weren't for them, we'd run out of enthusiastic adults pretty fast. Respect the kids. They're always at my field, and they're equally as important as the adults in this Airsoft ecosystem. Myth number 5. More FPS equals more range for your Airsoft gun. This just isn't true. Now, yes, you need some amount of force in joules to push that BB out of the barrel, but all you need is the field limit, or honestly, like 60% of that limit. Obviously, you'll want to use an appropriate amount of energy to lift heavier BBs, But that's not what affects range. Hop up is what affects range on a BB propelled by the appropriate amount of energy. Heavier BBs can cut through wind resistance much easier and can be hopped much harder without zipping up non-existently into the sky, for example, .2s. Technique and hop up gets you range. FPS, or increasing your joules, is only a factor for lifting BB weights, which in that case you get into the whole discussion about joule creep and its own complications. Either way, cranking up your FPS isn't going to give you just more range. You're just going to hurt somebody. Myth number 6. Extra barrel length gives you more range. Not true, false, and fucking cringe, honestly. I really hate it when retailers tell potential buyers this filthy lie. Oh, buy this sniper rifle and you won't have a problem reaching those faraway targets with accuracy compared to an M4. The truth is that an off-the-shelf sniper airsoft gun is like shooting a pistol with a long barrel. Maybe not that bad, but you know what I mean. I want to vomit every time I hear this or something similar to this shit when retailers speak. An airsoft gun having a freakishly long barrel means nothing. Yes, there is a sweet spot on inner barrel length, basically 350 millimeters to less than 400 or something in that ballpark, but anything longer results in more energy required to push a BB out of said barrel. The longer your barrel, the more air volume required to fill the barrel and help the BB accelerate longer. Under normal conditions with an airsoft gun that can properly volume the barrel, all this does is increase your FPS since your BB is being pushed through a small air channel longer and faster before it exits. A barrel that's too long for a particular gun not capable of such energy compensation results in a lack of force required to push a BB out of the barrel, causing lower FPS due to BB deceleration before exiting. This can also cause crazy inaccuracies because without proper air propulsion, the BB might destabilize inside the barrel, make contact with the inner surface, or just micro bounce around and shoot out in unpredictable directions or patterns. Short barrels, and I mean really short barrels, do also suffer because the BB will never have enough time inside the barrel to fully benefit from your higher air pressure via spring, compressed air, or what have you. For this reason, short barrels are obviously good for CQB because FPS will drop for safety measures or field limits. Airsoft inner barrels aren't just rifled. They don't cause a side spinning effect on BBs like real bullets have. In real guns, longer barrels affect a bullet's velocity and range because the rifling inside those barrels affects the bullet for a longer period of time before it leaves the barrel. HPA guns can have their air pressure adjusted via PSI or dwell settings in the FCU, which essentially allows an HPA engine to release air micro increments longer to compensate for a longer barrel and therefore provide more fillable volume. As for AEGs, if the internal parts aren't good enough or an aftermarket barrel is beyond the recommended length of a stock gun, FPS will drop. Again, hop up affects the range of a BB, not the barrel. Improve your hop up first, then the quality of your barrel, not its length. Barrel length is, I'd say, 90% cosmetic in the world of airsoft. Myth number 7. Tighter bore barrels are more accurate than wider bore barrels. Since we're on the topic of barrels, gotta throw this absolute lie in there too. I use a 6.32 bore size inner barrel. Just for reference, almost every airsoft gun on the market is sold with a 6.01 to 6.03 or so inner barrel bore size. BBs are 6 millimeters in diameter. Bore size affects your velocity, not your range. Just because the barrel is tighter doesn't mean that makes your shot groupings tighter. I understand the thought process or whatever around that, but that's just not what it's about. Again, when retailers talk about, oh, this tight barrel will give you those accurate shots on target, I want to vomit. Untrue, false, cringe. It's all marketing mumbo jumbo filler. Here's the facts. Tight bore barrels require less air via spring, cylinder, nozzle, or gas or HPA to volume. This air will lift the BB and help it glide along the top of the inside of the barrel with uniform motion forward. This is technically energy-wise more efficient and keeps airsoft gun velocity at high or standard levels out of the box. Wide bore barrels need more energy to volume a wider space inside and lift the BB with uniformity as it propels forward with hop applied. This is less efficient and lowers the velocity of your airsoft gun. However, wide bore barrels offer more air cushion and less potential surface contact between the BB and the inside of the barrel. Because I use HPA, I can volume my wide bore barrel no problem. In an AEG, something like a 6.23 millimeter inner bore can be more demanding on the mechanical parts if you try to compensate for the lower velocity output. The reason different bore sizes exist is for velocity adjustments, nothing else. If you can volume your barrel appropriately, bore size doesn't affect range or accuracy. What does affect range and accuracy is a dirty or dusty 6.01 millimeter barrel. A speck of dust in a tight bore barrel will just ruin your accuracy or make you feel like your expensive purchase didn't make a difference. As for my wide as fuck Orga barrel, I could probably spit in it and not have a problem. That's the real difference. I won't ever go back to tight bore barrels, especially with HPA. Hell no, but just my preference. Okay, that was a bit of a rant, sorry. Moving on, myth number 8. Airsoft guns made in China are terrible. Look, last I checked, literally everything is made in China. And you can't tell me SEMA airsoft guns, which are made in China, are bad. You just can't. They have the best AKs and have earned their spot at the top as one of the most memorable airsoft brands. What makes some airsoft guns bad, or companies, what have you, are the design flaws. Take a look at the Keltec RDB airsoft replica. I almost got one of these a while back, but I'd like to know which absolute moron thought it was a great idea to put the hop-up adjustment wheel in the mag well. Like inside, through the bottom. Guys, the mag well. So basically I have to take my mag out every time I need to adjust my hop up, wasting several BBs every time I eject my mag. Imagine adjusting your hop up before a game or while troubleshooting and just dumping .32s or heavier BBs on the ground for no good reason. You're honestly telling me that they couldn't have put some sort of sliding square window in there on the side to touch my hop up adjustment dial? Really? You can't do that? That's just one example. Look at Umarex, based in Germany. They had every chance to make the TAR-21 easier to take apart, and instead it's just a rebrand. Proprietary gearbox, still too many screws everywhere, no thanks. Look at how the airsoft gun is designed, not where it's physically made. By the way, if you have an RDB replica, I still think it's a sexy looking gun. I'm not giving you any beef, and the TAR-21 is my favorite bullpup, basically, so I mean, it's more of a disappointment than it is me just shitting on these guns. I'm just disappointed. Moving on. Myth number 9. HPA is more accurate than AEGs. That's just not true. Just because I use air and you use mechanical components doesn't mean my gun is instantly more accurate. If I have a crappy hop-up or just incompatible, poorly designed, or just not good internals, my BBs aren't going to fly accurately. The biggest thing about HPA is that I have a very consistent energy output per shot. My regulator keeps my very clean energy source within a very narrow margin of deviation when it comes to velocity output. I can't say the same about traditional AEGs, at least out of the box. Regardless, both guns have hop-ups and barrels, something we've been talking about for a while now in this video. It's all about BB weight, hop up, and barrel. That's where the accuracy comes from. All this talk about how HPA is just outranging everything is just not true. Here's the truth. The guy with the HPA gun probably also has just a nice gun to begin with. It probably has a nice wide bore barrel, nice hop up, and he's shooting at the very least .32 gram BBs. He's probably also put a lot of research into which hop up is best for his setup, or actually more likely trial and errored quite a bit before finally having the gun he's got today. He didn't just drop a Polar Star engine in the gearbox and call it a day. It doesn't really work like that. Trust me, I'm talking about myself here in case you didn't realize by now. And our final myth, bigger battery means more FPS. That's not a thing, right? Then again, I've read a lot of comments in my day, heard many things. A bigger battery just means you've got more disposable energy. It doesn't mean your airsoft gun is going to shoot harder. Hey, if you're new to airsoft, or maybe you're new to the whole tech aspect of it all, no harm, no foul. The battery is pretty important for an AEG. And actually, so is the motor, which does affect the snappiness of your gearbox or your rate of fire, which of course has its own strain on an unmodified gearbox. Those kinds of things aren't for me either, hence why I use HPA. I prefer to keep the tech aspects simple, but yeah, big battery is just a big battery. You're okay. Alright, 10 myths or lies about airsoft. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any other myths to share, or just things to know, which might educate or help someone else browsing through, please feel free to post it in the comments. So, did you learn anything today? Are you happy with the airsoft knowledge you have? Knowledge is power after all. Anyway, that's it for today. I do enjoy making these kinds of talking videos, and I just felt really passionate about this one, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you very soon at the field.